the one.
So the first one is, do you use Docker at your company? Asking as a Docker employee. So it says, I'm researching working at Docker. If you were involved in the decision to adopt Docker at your company, would love to hear any feedback you have about that process of adopting Docker, how it's working for you. Thoughts. All right, so I'm going to start the timer, and I'm going to say this, right? I've used Docker at the past 3 companies that I've worked at, and I didn't. Well, one company I did introduce it, but the other companies they already had it. We were so in one in the first company that I used it at, we were using a software to be able to like deploy the to deploy the Docker containers called Rancher, and it would like distribute it and stuff like that. And that was like my first real exposure to Docker. At that, this was like 8 years ago, when Docker was not that popular or prevalent. So I had to figure out a lot of things, but I have really like I don't know. I'm just maybe I just love working with Docker because it makes my life so much easier. And being able to and then seeing like all the tools that they have came up with Docker for the like for QA in particular, right? Like there's Docker for everything, but just like some of the tools that they came up with Docker for some of the Docker images and containers that they've come up with QA where we can run our Selenium grid on Docker. And then they build on top of that where you can record your tests, you can create the reports and all that type of stuff. It's been great, to be honest with you. At the company in the middle that I used, Docker, my last company, I I had to pretty much set up our whole automation infrastructure for the segment of the company that I was on, and I used Docker so that we could be able to. I had a not a virtual machine, but a remote server, and I installed Docker on there so I could be able to install Jenkins. The same way that we did on the stream the other day, right? I installed Jenkins on there, and then I was able to run my test and set up access to Jenkins for the other for the other members on the team. And then I was able to set up our Selenium grid on there and be able to run all of our tests and then generate our reports. So pretty much my whole framework was built and was able to connect to the Docker, to the Selenium grid that was running on Docker. And then provide the reports for the tests that were being ran. So pretty much on that server that I had installed Docker, and via Docker I had Jenkins, and I had what they call at the time they called it Selenium, which was a Selenium grid, a customized Selenium grid, right? And I used that to pretty much set up the whole QA infrastructure for the team. Um, and it made my life so much easier because if I had to set up these things manually, it would be such a nightmare, with having to manage the ports and stuff like that. And then at my current company, they were already using Docker, but I would say the team that I came onto, they like Docker was not their forte, and at the time, Docker was not my forte either. But I knew how to do a lot of things in there, so I ended up setting up the image that they were using, and I was able to put it up into the AWS ECR Elastic Container Registry. And now when we're running certain tests, when we're running our tests, we can just pull in that image and start up the container and do all the stuff that we need to do. So it's been really really good for me using Docker for the past 8 years or so. And then on our like just for the tech coach Ralph brand and company, um in the Poopy Pants app, the quotes app, as well as the microservice that we're expanding out. That's using Docker heavily for our testing needs, and then it's going to be using Docker for a microservice I'm not even sure we're going to host that yet, but like Docker's all around. And now that we're doing the DevOps course on Sunday, we spent the past like month now, reacquainting ourselves with Docker. And I've learned a lot of things about Docker as well in the meantime, because there are things about like the setting up the Docker build file, the Docker compose file. You know, start doing the run. There's some different Docker commands that I had no idea about, and I'm like, wow, there were so many more things that I can do with Docker that I didn't know, and just taking the time to just to say we're going to go on this journey to learn DevOps, that it's been a major game changer. So I think Docker is great. There's still a lot. I think the biggest problem that people have with Docker is that they don't they don't take the time to understand how powerful it really is. And is there a way to make that knowledge easier? I don't know. Um, I think people use the bits and pieces of it that they find useful for whatever they're doing in the moment. But I think there's so much more that you could do that will make your life a lot easier, or your tech life a lot easier, that people just neglect because they might allegedly be too busy and stuff like that. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. That is just my thoughts. Hopefully that helps everyone out there. But we're gonna wrap this question up.
Scrolling through my phone, I can't find a spark. Each day feels like a bug in a broken arc. But my lines of code know me better than they do. In love with these scripts, they hold me true. Conversations fizzle, hearts feel like a chore. Bad dates come and go, but the code's always there. Lines of love in the night, pulling me from despair. These fleeting connections can't break through the strain. I'm lost in these programs, I'm coding my pain. Dining on hopes, but the vibe feels so wrong. Wondering if I can fix what's taking too long. But while dinner gets cold, my thoughts start to race. I'd rather be debugging in my own safe space. Is it me or the code that keeps me awake? Bad days come and go, but the code's always there. Lines of love in the night, pulling me from despair. These fleeting connections can't break through the strain. I'm lost in these programs, I'm coding my pain. Okay, dining on hopes, but the vibe feels so wrong. Wondering if I can fix what's taking too long. But while dinner gets cold, my thoughts start to race. I'd rather be debugging in my own safe space. Is it me or the code that keeps me awake? Awake, awake. Bad days come and go, but the code's always there. Lines of love in the night, pulling me from despair. These fleeting connections can't break through the strain. I'm lost in these programs, I'm coding my pain. So I lay down my